I'm Michaela and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sitting off to the side and it's kind of weird, but it's so that you can see the Milsbo, because what we're doing today is obviously, or is it obvious? I don't know, but a 1-year update review on my Ikea greenhouse cabinet that I put together. That was actually my first video that I made. So yeah, I'm just gonna be sharing some of the specifics and my thoughts, what I would do differently. And I'll have all of the products that I used linked in the description. Okay, so you may have watched the video where I put this one together. It was August of 2021, and overall, I would absolutely say that they are worth the money. I'm so happy with this still, and I still find myself just like gazing into it, looking at the plants. I just think it's a really fun and functional way to display your plants in a pretty way. So I would recommend it for sure, even though they are more expensive now than they were at the time that I built this. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with mine and I would definitely recommend it. I know one of the barriers to obtaining one of these cabinets is it's really hard to find them in stock, and that's not just with the Milsbo, that's like any and all of them. So if you can, to get this one, I signed up for stock alerts at my nearest Ikea, which is about 3 hours away. So that's a whole other thing, is there's not a lot of Ikeas, so they're kind of hard to get to. But I signed up for stock alerts and then ordered it online and did click and collect, because having them delivered, if you're not like right by an Ikea, is not very cost effective. Like it'll cost, I think I did it just to look and see, and it was like a couple of $100s. So it's just not, I mean, maybe if you live in the same town or something as an Ikea, that might be an option for you, but it is not an option for me. But anyway, I did click and collect, and you can order it and set it up for pickup like a few days out if you can't do it that day. So I have heard of people having issues with that, but I have not personally. I've done it a couple of times and it's worked out really well for me. Another thing is, if you can have someone to help you load and unload it and put it together, that is really helpful, because this thing is heavy. I don't know, I'm not the strongest person in the world for sure, but just with it being glass, I wouldn't recommend trying it yourself. And then I have an SUV and I had to lay down the seats to get the box in, so that's kind of another thing to consider. So yeah, I've had it for about a year. My one and only complaint with how I did this is that I only sprayed Rust-Oleum on the hole that I drilled for the cord management, and it has not rusted there. However, and I'll show a little bit of a more up close view, the little tabs that hold the glass in, when I put the glass in, it kind of chipped the paint a little bit, and it is starting to rust a little bit there. So I wish that I would have sprayed Rust-Oleum there as well. And I probably will go back and do that and like spray white over it also, but for the time being it's too hot to use to drag it outside to paint it, and I haven't had the gumption to unload it to do that, I guess. So that'll be something I do in the future. I know some people do spray the entire thing, and that's not something that I did. I don't know how necessary it would be, but it also can't hurt unless you're like putting so much on that you're changing the size and the glass won't fit or something, but I doubt anyone is doing that. So the typical conditions that this cabinet stays at, it usually stays at about 75 degrees and about 80% humidity. I do keep it pretty toasty in my house when I'm here by myself. Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people, like, you see that meme floating around that's like, if you keep your AC over 75, don't invite me to your terrarium, you lizard. I'm that person, so don't come visit me. So yeah, that's what it stays at. It is in a room in our house that is part of an addition. So it stays a little bit hotter and colder in the summer and winter. So in the winter, it is a little bit cooler, but that humidity does stay around 80%. And I've not had a ton of issues with rust other than, like I said, those tabs. I've also not had issues with like bacteria and stuff on the leaves. Also on the wire grid, I did spray that with rust inhibitor and I don't have any rust on that. So if you're gonna put a wire grid, I would recommend spraying that with rust inhibitor. As far as the weather stripping goes, I just kind of pieced together different types of weather stripping that I had just because I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of it because that's more expensive than you would think. But I used foam on one door and then on another I used like the plastic strip, and I definitely prefer the foam. The plastic strip has not stayed stuck as well, and it also makes a sound that's just kind of annoying, so you can tell when I'm opening that door and not the door that I put foam around. And I did have a plastic strip down the middle between the two doors, but I ended up taking that off because it was just staying a little bit too humid and I did not find it necessary. So it holds humidity very, very well without it being completely sealed off. You really don't need them to be completely sealed, in my opinion. It does boost the humidity just being enclosed like that, but if you have it sealed, that's when you're going to start to have issues with like bacteria and stuff like that. And I do have two small computer fans going in there, and I turn those off at night and they're on low during the day just to get a little bit of airflow. But I don't like them on really high because it's just too windy and it can damage the plants whipping them around like that. So I know it is a concern that people have had with like those computer fans catching on fire. I've not had that issue. I do have more than one Ikea cabinet and I use the same fans in all of them. So I've not had that issue. However, I also don't have the connectors exposed inside the cabinet where the humidity is higher. I have seen higher humidity fans being sold, but I've never purchased them. But like I said, it's not like a wet environment. Like it's not like above 90% humidity, so it's not actually wet, if that makes any sense. So I haven't had that issue. I would say if you're gonna run, I don't run a humidifier in here either. So if you're gonna be running that and have like a lot of exposed connectors like for your grow lights or your fans, that's where you'll start to have an issue. So I would avoid that at all costs. Like the plug-in, like the USB plug-in humidifiers, if those are in there, that's probably going to start to rust and then you're going to have an issue. So the way I'm doing it has not been an issue for me, but I mean, I'm also not using those products per manufacturer recommendations. So something to note. Okay, also, this is something I see a lot of people talking about in greenhouse, Ikea greenhouse or greenhouse cabinet groups, is the glass shelves preventing airflow. I'm not having that issue. I'm very happy with the glass shelves that came with the cabinet. I have felt no desire to replace them with wire. I hate wire shelves though, so I'll just say that. I knock stuff over and it doesn't stay up, and I'm just not a fan in general. But the airflow is fine. I have a, I'm looking at the cabinet in a mirror across the room, so that's why I'm like staring at a fixed point in space. Anyway, so I have one fan on that shelf and then one on the bottom shelf. Also, I don't have issues with airflow, bacteria, anything like that in there. So I'm really happy with the glass shelves, and I think they look a lot nicer too. So if it's something you're trying to do and think you have to replace them, you really don't. You can definitely use the glass shelves if you want to. So the wire grid I attached to the top of the cabinet with wooden dowels, and that has held up really well. I just put zip ties over the dowels and it's hanging from there in the little top cord management holes. So it comes with holes in the top where you're supposed to be able to put lights through, but I've never found any grow lights that fit through there, so I don't use that. I drilled another hole in the bottom, but that's how I attached that wire grid, and I'll show you a little bit of a closer view on that. And it's held up really well. The dowels do not appear to be under any type of stress, so I think it's gonna be up there for a long time. But I also don't have like really heavy plants hanging from it. Like I don't have like 8-inch pots of soil hanging off of that thing. I have like smaller plants in plastic cups of moss. So it's just, it is something I've been a little more careful with. Another question I've gotten a few times, because I regularly clean this cabinet in videos, and that is, if I clean it with Windex, does that harm the plants? And it does not. I've never noticed any issues based on cleaning it with Windex. I think it does a good job. It's not even Windex that I'm using, it's the Walmart brand of Windex. But yeah, I've never had any issues with using Windex. Okay, so the thing that I have noticed in this cabinet is that the anthuriums really, really love it. This crystallinum has sized up nicely. This is actually heat damage from when I had this outside doing just a preventative pest treatment. So yeah, that's what that is. But other than that, like I'm just not getting yellow spots or anything like a bacterial issue. This new Warrock leaf did come out a little bit funny, but all in all, I've been really happy with how the anthuriums are doing in here. Let's see, and I have quite a few more on the bottom shelf. Look at this leaf. So yeah, they're sizing up really well. Yeah, I'm able to keep the humidity pretty high for them. Not right now because I've had the doors open for a little while. But yeah, I'll give you like a close-up of how my cords are in here. I just have some of those cord covers to kind of manage them a little bit. And then I think this fan might be easier to see. So it's just those little little computer fans back there. I know they're hard to see, but I'll have those linked. And then my wire grid is back there. I know a lot of people like to use the pegboard, but I've not heard great things about that just because of the humidity, or people are having issues with it coming apart because it's just, I think it's just like MDF or something, or getting mold on it. So if you're wanting to hang plants in the back, I would go with a wire grid instead. And then I have these two little shelves here also. So yeah, I think it turned out really well. I still love it. I rearrange it from time to time. I just move plants around, but the overall cabinet itself I'm still really happy with, and I find myself looking at it a lot. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the cabinet. And even though Ikea has raised the price on this product, I would still say that it is worth it. I think they look really nice. I do have like a zip up grow tent, and I mean, it accomplishes the same goal, but this looks much, much nicer, and I find myself putting more care into the plants when I'm happy with how they look. I know everyone's not that way, but I am. I just like my house to look nice and put together, so I do really like it, and I would prefer it over my grow tent. So, but that's just me. And I have seen other products, other similar products like on Amazon or Wayfair, and they are much, much higher in price. They're like $500 to $700 as opposed to like what was this, like 200? So, and I know that is a pretty penny, but I would say it's worth it for me to have like a nice display that's also functional. So yeah, those are just my thoughts after having this cabinet put together and using it for the past year. I still love it. I would go and buy another one today. And maybe I will. Let me know if you have an IKEA cabinet and what you think of it in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram at Queen City Tropicals, and I will see you again soon.